Good morning, my dear students. I am very happy to meet you once again through the online class. Today we are going to see the British administrative organization in India. The British Indian administration was run by four principal institutions: civil services, army, police, and judiciary. Civil services. The term civil service was used for the first time by the East India Company to distinguish its civilian employees from their military counterparts, translating law into action and collecting revenue were the main jobs of the civil service. The court of directors of the company appointed civil servants indulged in corruption, bribery, and illegal private trade. So, Cornwallis, who came to India as Governor General in 1786, enforced the rules against private trade. He also raised the salary of the company's servants. Lord Wellesley established the college in Fort William at Calcutta to provide training in literature, science, and languages. The directors of the company replaced it. The system of recruitment on the basis of open competitive examination was introduced in 1853. The maximum age for competitors was fixed at 23, and recruitment to civil services became the responsibility of the Civil Service Commission. By the regulation of 1860, the maximum age was lowered to 22, in 1866 to 21, and in 1876 the age limit was 19. Due to the lowering of age limit and holding of examination in London, it could be possible only for a very few wealthy Indians to appear at the ICS examination. Satyendranath Tagore, the elder brother of poet Rabindranath Tagore, was the first Indian to pass the ICS examination in 1863. In 1869, the three Indians, Surendranath Banerjee, Ramesh Chandra Dutt, and Biharilal Gupta, became successful in the ICS examination. In 1923, a Royal Commission on Public Services was appointed with Lord Lee of Ferrum as chairman. The Lee Commission recommended the immediate establishment of a Public Service Commission. The main aim of this measure was to serve the British interest. It became the base of the civil service system in independent India. Army. The army was the second important pillar of the British administration in India. The Sepoy army was trained and disciplined according to the European military standards and was commanded by European officers in the battlefield. Indian soldiers were given less salaries and allowances than the English soldiers. In 1857, the Indian constituted about 86% of the total strength of the company's army. After the revolt of 1857, the important changes were made in the Indian Army Service in 1858. They increased the British troops and reduced Indian troops. Also, only English were appointed in artillery. Police. When the East India Company took over the Diwani in 1765, the Mughal police system was under the control of Faujdars, who were in charge of their sarkars or rural districts. The police system was created by Lord Cornwallis. He relieved the zamindars from police functions and established a regular police force in 1791. Before the post of District Superintendent of Police was created, all the thanas were under the general supervision of the district judge. In 1808, a superintendent of police was appointed for each division. The main task of the police was to handle crime and to prevent conspiracy against the British rule. Judiciary or the judicial system. In 1772, the dual government was abolished and the company took over the direct responsibility for the collection of revenue as well as the administration of justice. By the Regulating Act of 1773, a Supreme Court was set up in Calcutta. This court decided civil, criminal and admiralty cases. On the model of the Supreme Court of Calcutta, a Supreme Court was established in Madras in 1801 and in Bombay in 1823. Sir Elijah Impey was the first Chief Justice of the Supreme Court at Fort William in Bengal. Sir Thiruvarur Muthuswami Iyer was the first Indian Chief Justice of the Madras High Court. In 1832, William Bendick started jury system in Bengal. According to the Indian High Courts Act of 1861, 3 high courts were set up in Calcutta, Bombay and Madras in place of the old Supreme Courts. The Subsidiary Alliance. Lord Wellesley introduced the system of subsidiary alliance to bring the princely states under the control of the British. The princely state was called the protector state and the British came to be referred as the paramount power. It was the duty of the British to safeguard the state from external aggression. Main features of subsidiary alliance. An Indian ruler entering into this alliance with the British had to dissolve his own armed forces and accept British forces. A British resident would stay in his capital. Towards the maintenance charges of the army, he should make annual payments or give some territory permanently to the company. The native ruler should deal with foreign states only through the English company. The British would undertake to defend the state from internal troubles as well as external attacks. Merits for the British by the subsidiary alliance. The British company maintained a large army at the expense of the Indian rulers. The British company began to control the foreign policy of the princely states. Defects of the princely states. The subsidiary alliance made the Indian rulers weak, oppressive, and irresponsible. Protected by the British army, they neglected their duty towards their subjects and even exploited them. Doctrine of lapse. Lord Dalhousie was one of the chief architects of the British Empire in India. He adopted a new policy known as Doctrine of Lapse to extend British Empire. According to Doctrine of Lapse, if the native rulers adopted children without the prior permission of the company, only the personal properties of the rulers would go to the adopted sons and the kingdoms would go to the British paramount power. This principle was called the Doctrine of Lapse. It was bitterly opposed by the Indians and it was one of the root causes for the Great Revolt of 1857. Factors for the success of the British: greater naval power, development of textile industries, scientific division of labor, economic prosperity, and skillful diplomacy of the British. The inequality and ignorance of the Indian kings. So, how did the English East India Company, who came to India as traders, finally, by using the inability of the Indian rulers, they captured Indian territories. That's all for today's class. We will see the next lesson from the next forthcoming online classes. Thank you.